Hey there, sexy PlayStation gamers. Before I get started on this opinion piece, and I probably put a disclaimer up at the beginning of the video, but I want to do one more, just verbal. This is an opinion piece that does not represent the opinions, beliefs, or wild imagination of Pure PlayStation, its writers, reviewers, or anyone else associated with the site in any way. The thoughts and opinions are my own. There we go. Now with that out of the way, let's get into this. So recently we posted an article about a leak for trophies for God of War. We didn't originate the leak, it was on Reddit. We didn't pull the information from a review copy of the game. We asked for one, but Sony didn't respond. And that's fine. God of War is Sony's baby. They're free to choose where it will go for review. We didn't think we were doing something especially edgy by posting the trophy article. Leaked info is common on the internet, especially as you creep closer to the release date. Secrets are difficult to keep, and the world is getting smaller all the time. We certainly did not expect to receive a legal notice from Sony's agents at Erdetto USA asking us to remove the article immediately under US Code 17, Section 512. I'm going to add a link in the info box to Cornell Law School's Legal Information Institute with the full text of the law for you to review. The accusation is copyright infringement, and I'll put a link in the info box to the editor's description of the situation and his response. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not even close. If you're an actual attorney, please drop your thoughts and opinions in the comments. I'd love to see them. These are just my thoughts on why I think this is wrong and why I think Sony may want to talk to its representatives at Erdetto for the future. First, to the best of my knowledge, Sony is the copyright holder for God of War. They own that intellectual property, and unless there are fair use considerations or the legal factors, they can protect their interests. I personally support copyright protections. However, I don't think we're harming the game or infringing on their copyright by posting an article about the leaked trophies, but they may not see it that way. Have I said I'm not a lawyer? Great! I really want you to know that I'm not qualified to give a legal opinion. I did Google some information, but that's the extent of my professionalism. I will pretend to understand the law, and although it ultimately doesn't make a difference, I think there is something missing from the notice we received that makes it not fully enforceable. When I was writing this on April 12th, the source is still active. Anyone can go pull this information without resorting to any nefarious or illegal means. Based on my non-lawyerly interpretation of the law, that is reason enough for us not to comply. Here's why. In US Code 17, Section 512, subsection 2E, we only need to remove the material if two conditions are met. First, the original source has been removed or a court has ordered it to be removed. The second condition is that the person with the takedown request would have to let us know that the original source has been taken down or that a court has ordered the same. To the best of my knowledge, that's not in the email. I think part of that is because Erdetto is working for Sony, but according to their website, they don't initiate lawsuits. That's up to the copyright holder, and they notify the copyright holder when someone has or has not complied with their takedown notice. There are two other issues here that are more important to me than being Matlock Jr. The first is that we're covering a leak. We didn't make the leak. We didn't authorize the leak. We cover it for news purposes. I don't claim to be a journalist, but I do think this is pretty standard stuff for the industry. The second is that US law is being invoked here, and unlike some parts of the world, we still have freedom of speech. Once again, it gets tricky. There have been cases in the past that don't support freedom of speech over a copyright holder's protection of their intellectual property, even though, from what I can tell, it's generally accepted that news reporting falls under fair use. It's a murky gray area of the law, but there are two parts out of a potential 4 qualifiers that would apply here. The first is related to the amount of the copyrighted material we are using. We're not posting the entire game or putting the software on the internet for piracy. We're using a minuscule portion of the actual product. Multiple articles have quoted Cory Barlog as saying the game could take as long as 30 hours to complete, so this tiny list is nothing compared to that content. The second is the impact to the market for the game or value. Obviously, I would disagree that an article about trophies would harm the marketability of a product like God of War. It's going to sell like few games can. Even I, someone who normally waits for sales, have already bought it so that it will be delivered on release day. The final consideration here, and in my opinion more important, is whether this is really Sony's intent. I'm not sure that it is, and I think they may want to review this process. I also want to be clear that I don't think Erdetto is a bad company or has bad people. I think they're doing what they believe they should do or what Sony has explicitly contracted with them to do. Copyright protection is a good thing. But is there a strong need to punish sites for reporting on this news? Is there a benefit to keeping this information out of the hands of gamers to prevent some financial harm? If so, why? I would argue that the only harm is to Sony itself. Even though the notice doesn't come directly from Sony, it looks petty, and the scary letters and emails to take down information that anyone can access doesn't make sense or match your gamer-friendly image. If Sony ever sees this... Yeah, right. I would ask you to reconsider this approach and look at the damage you may cause in trying to protect something that is ultimately insignificant. If we'd used some illegal means to get this information, if it was protected under an embargo that was part of a willing agreement for a review copy, or even if we had dropped early videos of the game that showed important information, it might be different. We're not the only site that has had to deal with this sort of thing. Going forward, developers and publishers, please reach out to us, and at least give us an opportunity to work with you. We may still disagree for the reasons I mentioned here, or even better ones. In this case, releasing the legal hounds just seems like using a nuclear bomb to swat a fly. Please feel free to drop your thoughts and opinions. Like I said, especially the legal opinions in the comments. I'm really interested in understanding what you think. Is this a big deal? Do you think that this is something that, the companies should definitely be able to protect? Like I said, we're fans of copyright protection. That's not an issue. But we just wonder, is this really necessary? Is this something that they should be doing? Just let me know what you think in the comments. As always, please like and subscribe so we can keep bringing you more content like this, or even better. But who am I kidding? Probably not. Thanks a lot.